Okay, in today's session we discuss about Java IO classes. What do you mean by IO? Java IO means input output operations. Means it is a stream input. Even we have a stream classes in Java 1.8 which are those stream classes are different. Here this Java IO dot packages are different. So we'll discuss about why do we need IO streams, where do we use, when do we use, how to use, right? After all learning that, the main thing is that what exactly the streams we have to, where exactly in what point of time, what stream files we have to use is the important thing. So first we have to understand what is the importance of IO classes. IO classes in generally, right? It is meant for input output operation, which means it takes the input, means it is used to process the input, means it takes the input and process and produce the output. If we think that to hear that taking input processing output is something like our Java method execution programming execution, that is not the same as here. The way of producing the input, the way of producing his output is happening with the help of IO classes through some files. That files can be any text file, Word file, XLS, anything, any type of files where you can take the input from a particular source and produce the output to the another particular source, or it can be a same source or it can be a different source. Means reading the data from the text file and writing to the CSV file or writing to Excel file, no matter. The source can be different or the destination can be different. Sometimes it is same. If you want to traverse the data from one place to another place, then these IO classes will help us. Okay, let's see that why we do need these IO classes. You see that in day-to-day activities, right? In a latest way of programming, right? If you have a huge amount of data that need to enter into the system, right? One record, two record, 10 records, you can do manual typing. Suppose some hundreds, thousands, lakhs of records are there in a source. You want to upload, you want to send that data to your application, means it's a database only, we are storing the data, right? It's a storage location. How you do that? You cannot spend that much effort, that much time to enter the data, manually keep typing, right? So if you do that, then it's a time consumption process. Not only that a kind of time consumption process, it also may lead to some errors, right? May mistype some things, right? When we are keep timing by looking at the file and typing and switching to that file and switching to the programming UI user interface where it is giving an option to enter fields, sometimes spell mistakes, means typo issues happen. Say it's a burden of work to the developer to do all these things, means it feel irritation, boring also. So it not to enter the data input to the program manual, it is a very tedious task. Also the result of the programming need to be stored in somewhere in the for future reference, right? So to do all these things, then it is quite complicated. So that's why IO classes has come into picture. It helps us with input and output stream. So all the data that is happening, right, with the help of streams only, means it takes the data from one stream, means one source, and write to another source. Another source is called a destination, where actually it read the data is the source. Then you do some process, right? Or maybe to convert to some byte data, which it has to traverse to the network, right? Why we are saying traverse to the network means it has to pass to some different location. So how you do that? Then it convert into the byte stream. Then you can write to that destination stream. How it has happened, right? Once you read that one, you cannot just read like the human readable language to that, right? We have to convert to the byte stream to send that one place to another place. So the byte stream is the only one which the file classes can handle, means this stream files can handle the byte stream. So that byte data you can directly write to the destination place. The destination place can be anything. So how it is happening? It is with the help of stream only. What is actually stream? Stream is nothing but a sequence of something, right? That something can be a data or it can be a thing, right? In Java, if you Java perspective, it is say stream is composed of bytes, means is the sequence of byte, number of bytes, right? That we call it as a stream. It is something like, you see now, if you take a real-time example of water is flowing from one source to another source. You are taking the source, right? You can take a source example is a big water tank that is placed on the top of our building. So we are getting the water from that source and utilizing for our purpose, right? Then that there is a pipeline which that stream of water flows from that pipeline to your house for our household needs, where you can fill that water to a bucket or a mug or a jug, right where you can traverse and you can do many things, right? Means it is like a stream of water, just that continuous flow. When the destination side, if you utilize that, means if you switch on the tap, the water will be flowing automatically, which means it is continuously flowing that stream. So that is best example. So here, if you look at this diagram, now this is how this working of IO and streams working. It means it is input output streams. So what is this now? This source can be a file or a console or a socket or anything, right? That provide input. What you do, this is a source. Source means first you have to read that, means we have to input to your system, right? Input to your system means to is application, is a Java application. Right now we are talking about the Java. Now let's read that input. To read that input means you have to specify that path, means you have to mention that where exactly that particular location one that source location is there, from where you are reading that. It can be directly reading from on fly, like from the keyboard or from the socket, from the file, anything. We have to specify that what type of input you are reading, right? The source is type of input. It can be any of this type input. Then you that send that input stream to Java. Then you are ready, means you have configured the input stream. Then if you want to do some process, then you can do some process here, and you have to send that to output, means you have read that input from one stream, from one place, right, from source. Then you are sending the data out to some another place. This is called as a destination. Again, in destination, that stream of input stream, then you can write to this destination. That destination, how you do? With the help of output stream, you have to send the data, which means that using output stream only you can write that. See, there's always, that is the reason, it is always input and output streams are used here. Input stream means that you, but that a stream of data is coming as a input, so that's why we call it as an input stream. Stream, it is a stream, right? It is here or here, right? Either it is out, sending out, or reading in, right? It is a stream of data, right? It is a stream of data. But why do we say input? Means we are inputting the data to our system. So when we are reading in, or when we are inputting data to our system, then we use input streams. There can be input stream, file input stream, buffer input stream, data input stream, as a number of things are there. Like I will show you in the diagram. Okay, when you are sending out the data to the destination, then out, just the meaning there, right? We are sending out, output stream is used here. So this is who we just have to realize these two things. So to read the data, reading is then you are inputting, right? So you are taking the input from the system, from any external system, right? Or it can be a file or some other system also, right? That if wherever you are reading the data, that is the input source. So then those places we have to use stream of input streams, right? Then when you are sending out from your system, if you are writing out, right, then you have to use output stream classes. So this is that overview of this flow of input and output stream. If you look at this one, output input streams are there, right? If say depending on the type of input, then you have to go with that classes. For example, if you are inputting the file, means if you are taking the file to read, right, then this is a file input stream. If it is a byte data which comes in the form of array, and you have to go with this input stream, and filter input stream, piped input, and object input, data input, buffered input, push back input. As these are number of classes are there. Why do we need to have separate classes? This rate depending on the type of input we are reading, then we have to go with this specific classes. The same way, if you look at this output stream also, here we have a file input stream, right? When you input the file, type, when you input the stream of input is what type of input is there? It is a file input. It is a stream. It is the last keyword is always stream only, because everything is a stream of data only. So don't confuse that. That the first part only you are inputting. If you just said in the middle one also input is remains same. But what type of stream? What type of data of type what it is? It is a file data, byte or filter, pipe, object data. How means how buffered data. Then you have to decide that what type of input you are reading. Then you have to think. Then you go with that specific class. Now you see this one everywhere. What input stream things you have used the same output stream. You can use that. Say file, if you are using a file input stream, you see, look at this file output stream is there. And if you use byte input stream, then you can use a byte output stream like that. If you write a programming, right, during reading the file, what is that source used, then you have to use the destination also the same file. Okay, this is how you think that when you are writing a program, this first thing, what is our requirement, what we are doing, are we reading a data from the file, are we reading the data from the different source, that byte data. So depend on that first thing, first analyze that your requirement and go with the stream classes, which class and when to use which class. So is the important. Once you are clear, then you have to write this. And handling of exception is also important, right? Here you may have a number of exceptions, right? File not found exception is the main exception, is the root exception. When you are reading something from the file, right, or may writing to the file, file not found exception, if that particular location, the file is not there in that particular location, then you could find file not found, right? And out when there are in between, right, and we are streaming the data from one place to another place, you have a number of exception, byte data not found, or something null exceptions also there. When you are reading something from the file, with the data is there, but while reading you have the data, but when you are sending out to the output stream, somewhere the data is lost. So let's say object not found or data not found, null exception. So we have to be careful that when we are working with the stream classes, they go with the right class, appropriate class. Okay, let's do hands-on how these streams are working for us. Okay, as told you, right, this here output stream, Java application uses an output stream to write data to the destination. It can be anything, right? It can be a file array or in XML document, Excel document, or as a socket also. And output stream is a abstract class of all that. It is the super class of all the classes representing an output stream of bytes. And input stream is the opposite to that. It is used to input the data to stream, means input stream to read the data from the source. Again, it can be of any devices. Okay, now let's go back to the Eclipse and see. Now, where is the file? I already have a program that is already done. Let's discuss one by one. Just first Java file. That's not a Java file, it's a first file. Now let's think about that. Oh, here I have a sample.txt. I don't see, we don't have that sample.txt in our file. So when you are writing to that file, right, make sure you have to create that file. That file should be exist. Now, if you don't want to create that file manually, we have a method called create new file for us, right? So this will help you to create file. Now let's see now what I'm trying to write. Now I'm writing to this guy, okay, sample.txt. Now I will comment this one, okay, and see what happens here. Okay, sample.txt is not there. Okay, I'm not going to create that. Run as application. Welcome to this Java world, right? Say refresh this one. Say there is a file already created. Means this are write string automatically create file for you. That in real time scenario, this file is not there, right? Then operating system, this file system will create a file for you. How this works? If you see this one, the code flow is happening. If the file exists, it checks the file is exist or not for the first time. If it does not exist, it's already. Let me start in the debug mode, sample.txt. Let it delete. Run debug as in Java application. You see this one for the first time. If you see this file sample.txt, the path, okay, path is that absolute path in your current project. You see this file exists? No. It does not exist. So it is a returns a boolean value. File exist is the boolean, right? So it tells you the file is not exist, say false. Then the file exists not exist, then it help you to create a file. Then the say file that create a new file in the sense. Then see this one, if you refresh, there is no file exist here. After executing this line, you see it returns a boolean value true, means the file is created successfully. Now see empty file, empty by default the file will be empty. Once your file is created, then it's true, means file is created. Then what we are writing, this is the file, right? This is the file will exist in this location. I'm saying I'm sending the path, right? File start write string. No, see this type of things you use when if you want to write only some line, one line of code, and all of course you can use this one. In general, you don't use this type. There's everywhere across, right? This is not mostly used also. But to let you know, this from the simpler way to the complex, right? I'm explaining this one. See, welcome to the Java world. The moment I say this one, right? Then that data is written to this file. You see this one, welcome to the Java world. And I want to read this one. There is a, however you say write, what you return string, you have written a string. Again, I'm saying read. Reading means you, to read that from where you are reading from particular location, right? That location is the file path, and you can read that file as using files.read method. See the content, what is there in that, it will be written and displayed to your console. So this is simpler way of writing the data to and file. You see this files is a final class which contain this, right? The list of methods, but this class is not mostly frequently used. This is, but I show that this is a simpler way of writing the data to your file with simple text. This is the first step there to understand that with simple method. Write read is a general English meaning. To write the data to a file, then you have to specify the file name. Where is that file? Where is my file? Then what data you are writing irrespective to, can be anything, right? Just see that, say copy, control just say an amount of text, and you just run this term second time, you could see the file already exists, right? The file already exists, you could see that amount of data what you have written, that it will be displayed as is. So this is simpler way how you can work with the file. Now go to the next type of example is that what, let's first file writer. Now what is a file writer? Then you are first, right? Let's take an example of this one only. You are reading a file, right, or outputting a file. Our example is that then we are first writing to a file, means to write to a file, what is that, we need a file writer, means there is a class file writer like this one. This is a file writer is the method that say using from where we are using this one file writer class which extend the output. Say you are saying writing means you are writing means then you said output, but when you say file writer is the class that extend the output stream writer, it extend the writer class again. So it means you are outputting the data only, right? We are outputting the stream, right, using writer class. Then that is the reason we're directly using file writer. So which have the capability, right? We have the capability to write output stream. So that is the reason. So it's always when you are writing something, right, it is an output only. So then for that, what to do, you have to specify the file path where that file exists, right? You don't need to give this completely also, right? If it is exact location, they can say file object also you can pass. So what data, what input, what parameter you have to pass it here, right? This will let's tell you that. If see this one, say java.filewriter, it expecting the string path. So that is the reason we are sending the string path. In all files will not expect the string path. Some files, some classes expect the file object that we see in the next upcoming hands-on examples. Okay, now let's go to this one. What we are doing it here, we are we are writing to the file. To which file means sample.txt. Now we already have a sample.txt which is written, it is holding some data. Okay, clear this one. Okay, close this and see now writing to the file using file writer. First we are doing what we are doing. I have a file that exists in a particular location, and what is our requirement? I want to write the data to that file. So to write the data to a file means you are sending the data to output stream. Mean from this system you are sending the data to output stream. Output is nothing but is the sample. This is the output location sample.txt. So that is the reason I have to say use this one, write. That just now we seen this in example, right? First, to write the data, we have to use the write method. So when we say write, what you are trying to write, it expect you the parameter. What is that? Can be character, integer, string, anything. You can write this, the number of classes. All write method do the same thing, but the data you have specified is depend on that. And when you say write, then it will write. Once you are done with the file writer, it is a file, right? It is opening a connection, right? Means it is opening a file connection. Then it is always best practice to close this object. So in real time scenario, you have to have this class, this code in the try catch blocks surround with, can you say try catch block? Okay, now put this. So surround with, okay, see, you can put it in the try catch block as we already discussed, right? If we have a try catch and we have a finally block also, which help you to close all this type of things, finally block. So instead of closing it here, right, you can do all this type of things in the finally block also. So it gives you error. What is that? This should be a global variable. Okay, so now exception is gone. Now, if you have the exception, right, it's automatically convert to multiple catches. Why, right? Say, on file not found. See, now we are working with one a simple file. Means we are working with simple file. The requirement is to write to this file. That is say, if the file is not found, then you can say file not found exception will come. Possibility file not found exception come. That is the reason it automatically create file not found. In another case, I don't know what other exception might come here. So then that is the reason this one more catch block is created. IO exception of type, any exceptions, right? That extend the exception, that can be any IO exception, can be input output. When you are out sending the data or reading the data, both are input output, you are performing the IO operation, so that's a output exception. So any exception related to the input output will be catch here when other than file not found. If the exception is file not found exception, it is other than file not found exception, then it comes here and log this exception here. Now let's see, once you write the file, okay, you have written the file successfully, but again I want to read. This is a file writer. Again, opposite of this is file reader. To read the file, you are reading from somewhere, right? You have to see that from where you are reading. To know that, you have to send the path again. Again, you are reading something here and you are trying to write some you are writing to some file, and if you send different path, then that path the file is exist or not. If the file is not exist, what do you say? The file is not exist and you cannot read anything. Now to say that, now delete this file, sample.txt, right now. Okay, now we see that once you pass this file, then you our file reader object is ready. Not what to read none, we are reading file.read method, which is by one character by character, means one line, one character. You know the character of character is one character, and this character of file means each character I am storing to the input string that I will return or print at the end of this method. Now let's see that I will debug and show you what's happening. You have to know the things what's happening behind this, right, while debugging. Now when you are writing the file, right, the file is there, the file is created and return that. Now could see what happened, this file content, then say by default this guy gets closed this. Okay, now see, refresh this. Could see sample.txt writing to the file using file writer. Now say this content is not displayed here. We'll see this one, run this again. Okay, why content it is not try catch. That is not a global variable. That is what it is. Okay. Now we have this access dot close. And now let's debug and as it writing to this, what's going on wrong here. Okay, file path, you are sending the file path. Say sample.txt, this file path, this guy sample path does not have any text, so it is not returned. By the time what is happening, right, when you are writing this data to a file, that file is not there, right? So and it is not accessible that, so make sure before it write to the file should be exist. So let's run our first sample file and run, make the class file is available. Now just run this. What is this again? Okay, sorry. This brought a problem. When you open this file, it is still holding a stream as open, and that is the reason this guy is not writing this. Immediately you have to close this, otherwise it is not writing and persisting to this file. When you say this one, this guy is not closed immediately, means the stream pipe is open. When this gets open, right, this guy is not writing the data to this guy. Okay, now file is created, close, domain to close. You see, means it is still holding in the stream, it is not writing until unless you close that one. Now to read this file, I can import that read dot character. So it's a character by character. First character is W. It is right, W. Next is R, right? It's writing character by character. At the end of this, right, after all reading characters, then you could be able to see this data. So this is the first step, that reading the data character by character from one source to another source. Right, this is one way. And next, another way what we can do is, right, using file input stream reader. Right, I told you, right, input stream. Till now we seen that for simple file start read method, write string, read string, and write without write string, just a write and read. Now we have file input stream. That what we can do. Till now we work with the files examples. Now take another example, right? Image dot png. I have an image.png in the E drive. That is something image. I want to read that image from that location and put it here. Right. First, let me delete this one. I already have this one. Okay. Now I read the image from here and convert that to stream. Right. I cannot. This is not a text data. This is an image. So you have to convert that. Right. The file input stream will take that as a byte stream. Then that byte stream you have to read it. Okay, first it will not write as a text, right? So first you have to convert the bytes, right? To see this file dot length, then you have to see the read bytes, the number of bytes are there. Now you see what is happening. First you take the path of the file, means image where it is located, you pass that to input stream, means you are sending that input, right, to the file, means you are reading that from outside, right? So that is the reason when you are reading from outside means you are inputting, then you are reading in the sense input, then that input stream is there. Then you have to read the bytes. How do you read the bytes? Why you are passing this bytes length, right? Because the size of the file, right, then you have to pass the number of bytes it exists. How do you find that? File dot based on the file dot length, right? You say you create the array. As we discussed the array, right, the length of the array should not be something static, it should be always the length of the data that is available to your size of the array. So that is the reason I'm sending the file dot length. What is the file size? It gives the length, some length, and it create a byte array with that array, then it get the number of bytes. So this you don't need to that, basically to read that, right, to display the number of bytes I have taken into this variable. Okay, now what our expectation is that to output the data, output this file to some other location. Well, that some location is in our application. So what to do? Then you have the bytes, right? You have converted into that bytes. So this bytes again, you just when you are read and you are writing that bytes. Let's see then how it works. Then you run this one, it is reading the data and create the file here. If you refresh it, and you could see the file. See output that data. You can see this is there. You cannot directly view it here. Okay, go to this path where it exists and see that. Otherwise, you feel that the data is not returned successfully like that. You see that the data is loaded. So the file is gets loaded and printed. So this is output is the one how it is created from our application. Say output dot JPG. But however, I am reading from PNG, but you are converting your own format, right? PNG, right? Like that, you can play around with that. You can. It's not only just reading the same as PNG. Your application may not support PNG. You have a restriction to store only JPG images. So that is the reason I change the extension format of this image. But however, you will not use that, right? So this is in real time how we will be reading the data from one place to another place. It can be a text file or it can be a images or any data, any bulk data. So in real time scenario, right? One more is there, mostly is that buffer input stream. What is a buffer input stream? This is a buffer to read the data from this, right? Large amount of data. If you want to read lines now line by line instead of reading by character, that makes sense. That it doesn't make sense that to read character by character, how long I can read character by character. I want to read line by line, number of lines I can read that. So to that, then using buffer reader will help you to accept the large volume of data. So what buffer reader expects? Buffer reader expect to see the buffer reader read in is class. It is reader in. What is the reader in? It is the input stream reader. So it has to mean buffer means it is like a container which hold the something that to hold that first what we are doing here, we are inputting, right? This can be reader, can be input stream reader or output stream reader, but in our case our example is to read the data from the system, from the input stream. So that is the reason I have taken input stream. It's not only input stream, it can be output stream. If you are writing the data to some outside, right, this buffer reader is generic, right? Buffered output stream is there, buffer input reader is there. If you see that there are number of classes related to the buffer reader. See this one, buffer reader, buffer input stream reader, buffer output stream reader is there. Okay, you can use any class that one. But like take your simple example. First class is the buffer reader is the class which extend the reader and say readable class. Well as this, no need to worry about this one. Okay, now our example is to read the data from some source. What is the source? System.in is the keyboard class. System is means I'm accepting the data from the system. What we are doing before date read line means it read the complete line of this, how much data you are entering that, right? There's a read line means read line in the sense meaning is that reading line by line. Okay, let's run this program and see what's happened here. First it expect the enter your name. What is your enter your name? Just you enter your name. It can be any number of characters. It can be lengthy data also. Next, what expects enter your location. Your location is HSR layout. Okay, then it says enter your address. I'm in the Bangalore, some location. Then mobile number, something. I type mobile number and say all the data that you have entered is displayed it here. You see this one, right? It hold that this buffer reader is holding all this data in the buffer until you read that one, right? This it does read, right? It creates the number of lines. You can see you are saying that it is storing, reading a large amount of data. How do that? You can see the right. See, keep typing this one. Any type of data, right? Now this line. See, whatever the data and it's a read line. What is that line, string line? It just read just like that. So this is how the buffer reader will help you to read the data line by line. Okay, this is all about that how to work with the file handling. Okay, in the next session we will discuss something more on it.